So, since Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we got a little bit of information as far as the worlds go, and that information was Dog Lore Expanded? Yeah, Dog Lore Expanded. That's what we got. We got Dog Lore Expanded, and that gave us a little bit of a clue about the state of the worlds, because, you know, we had all these different numbered dogs, and each one was locked into one specific world, it would seem. So, for example, you had the 7-star dog, which appears with Johnny outside the church, you know, where the Zack and Sephiroth scenes happen. That's the 7-star dog. Then we have the 6-star dog, which is the one that's in the reactor with Biggs and Zack. The 5-star dog is the main remake timeline that we've been playing in. The Zack's timeline stamp has got 4, and then obviously the stamp in the Cloud and Aerith Dream Date only has 3. And I was wondering if there was some kind of chronological order into any of this. You know, is there any kind of way to figure it out? And it just remains a possibility at the minute. It remains a bit nebulous. You know, is there going to be a world that's represented by a stamp with 2 stars? And is there going to be a world that's represented by a stamp with 1 star or no stars? And it kind of leaves us hanging at that point. I would guess there is going to be 7 altogether. It makes sense that there should be 7. Final Fantasy VII, come on, it works. How are we going to order them? I don't really know. I would have expected the main timeline stamp to have fewer stars than 5, if there was any kind of chronology to this or anything like that. But one thing that I've been thinking for a long time is that the remake world, the one that we've been playing in, isn't actually the real world. And a lot more people are starting to come over to this belief, I think. And the Many Beagles were probably the closest thing that I had to maybe proving it at some point, because I would guess that there is going to be a world that is the OG world, you know, there is going to be reality. And will that have a stamp that has no stars on it? Will it just have a plain stamp? Will that just be the normal reality, and all of these stamps that have got stars on them are offshoot worlds that have been created by whoever? But yeah, like I say, I've not really got anything to kind of confirm that. But I was recently toying around with the idea of a predictions video, just throw out some loose predictions, things that I think are going to happen in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. That's coming soon. And there was one point that I thought about, and for some reason it popped into my head. I wonder if Jessie's dad will wake up. Now, that's a bit of a moot point because the plate fell, and I'm pretty sure they lived on the Sector 7 plate, so probably dead. Probably dead. There's no guarantee that he's dead, but he's probably dead. But it got me to thinking about the state that he was in. And everyone kind of thought it was going to be a correlation to the state that Cloud was going to end up in after all the events of the North Crater, and when he ends up Mako poisoned again. I think that was the correlation most people made. This is Cloud seeing what's going to happen to him, probably in Part 3. But after seeing everything that we've seen in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm kind of rethinking that a little bit. And are we seeing something maybe akin to the state that we see Cloud and Aerith in, or at least the versions of them that we see in the Terria world? Are we seeing Jessie's dad in a state where his consciousness is in one of the other worlds? And was that caused by the state that he found himself in due to being Mako poisoned? And that makes you think, is Mako poisoning kind of a gateway into the world or something like that? Is it like the ayahuasca of the Final Fantasy VII universe? I don't know. But it was just something that got me thinking. I figured I'd put it out there for everybody to have a little chat about and a little think about, you know. Could Jessie's dad actually have his consciousness trapped in another world? One of these other stamp universes? The Stampverse? The Beagleverse? The Stampverse. Yeah, the Stampverse. Is that consciousness trapped somewhere in there? Was it potentially in that 3-star world, that Dream Date world that we had with Aerith? Is it maybe trapped between the worlds or something like that? I mean, I don't know. This is wild speculation of the highest order, and I've not really got much to run with on it. Like I say, just thought I'd put it out there for people to consider and have a little think about. Is it foreshadowing for Cloud in Medial in the latter stages of the game? Or is it something that's maybe made to make us think, oh, I've seen this before, when we see Cloud and Aerith in the state that they're in the Terria world? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's possible. It's interesting that the only other example to my memory that we've seen of someone being in that state is Jessie's dad. And if you go back to Final Fantasy VII Remake Chapter 4 and you play through that chapter again and you listen to the conversation between Cloud, Biggs and Wedge after Jessie runs off and you've already snuck into the house, you hear Jessie's theory on what's going on. And it's that her dad's spirit is trapped between the real world and the heart of the planet, which kind of feels to me like she's suggesting that maybe he's trapped in the live stream. And what are you if you're in these other worlds if you're not trapped in the live stream? Do you know what I mean? All of these worlds seem to exist within the live stream itself. So her belief that he is trapped within the live stream may be true. She may just not realise the gravity of it and what that means for the world that she exists in. I suppose the only other question would be why or how. The most likely candidate is the fact that Mako poisoning just has the chance of shunting someone into that state, potentially. If there are already existing connected worlds, maybe the Mako poisoning can nudge someone out of sync with the world they're in. I don't know. It is a very weird premise. It was just something that popped into my head. And it makes me wonder, is that then some hard proof that the remake world, the Beagle world, isn't actually the real world at all? Could it potentially be that if someone is in that state in a world, it is a hard confirmation that that world isn't real? I don't know. This feels a bit reachy, the last bit. I don't know, but I do feel like there is the potential for some sort of connection there between the two. Anyway, I've rambled a little bit about this. I just wanted to put it out there, get people's thoughts on it. So let me know in the comments below. Do you think there is a connection between the state that we see Jessie's dad in Remake and the state that we see Cloud and Aerith in the Terrier timeline? Do you think there's any kind of similarities there or any kind of connection? Do you think that it could potentially be proof that the remake world isn't the main world? And also, what do you think about the stamps as well? Because the stamps is weird. I've spoke about this in a previous video a few months ago, and then I've not really spoke about it since, so I figured I'd bring it back up. So yeah, let me know what you're thinking. Also, keep an eye out for a predictions video like I was talking about earlier. That's coming in the next few days, hopefully. Things are starting to ease up a little bit. So we're going to start getting the content moving again. But yeah, like the video, sub future content, tell me what you're thinking in the comments below. But more importantly than all of that, have a great day.